Factoring using the greatest common factor and distributive property. There are 14 problems on this page. I'm not going to do all 14 of them. So I'm going to do a few of them, and then you are going to finish the worksheet. As we discussed in class, when you are factoring, you are looking for the greatest common factor between the two numbers, whether they be coefficients or constants. And one of the things you can do is list the common factors for both numbers, as we did in class. 1 times 21 is 21. 2 is not a factor of 21. 3 is a factor of 21. 3 times 7. And that is all the factors. For 33, you have 1 and 33. You have 3 and 11. So the greatest common factor here is 3. When you find the greatest common factor, that is the number that is going to go outside of the parentheses. You're going to take your operation that is represented in the original expression and put it inside the parentheses, and then you're going to ask yourself 3 times what number would give you negative 33. Well, that would be a negative 11, and this part of the expression has the variable with it. So you must bring the variable with that part of the expression. There's my plus sign coming down. Now I'm just going to ask myself 3 times what number would give me 21, and that would be 7. And this is one of the correct answers for factoring the expression. I can check myself by looking back and saying, does 3 times negative 11p give me negative 33p? It does. Does 3 times 7 give me 21? It does. So this is one correct answer for this particular problem. So I'm going to go and choose to do number 5B. 5B is 24 minus 64k. Notice here they just put the term that has the variable with it at the end, not a big deal. And we're going to change this right away into an addition, which means that the 64k becomes a negative. So now I'm going to ask myself, what is the greatest common factor between 24 and 64? So I'm going to list my factors for 24, and I find that there's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. So I want to find the greatest common factor. Well, I know 2 will work because they're both even numbers, but that isn't the greatest common factor. 3 will work because when I add both 6 and 4 together, I get 12. And when I add 2 plus 4 together, I get 6. And both of these numbers are divisible by 3. So 3 will divide into both of these numbers evenly. But is that the greatest common factor? Not sure. 4. I know 4 obviously is a factor of 24. Is it a factor of 64? Well, 64 divided by 4 is going to give me, yes it is, 4 and 16. But is that the greatest common factor? Let's check. Is 6 a common factor of both of these? Well, to check divisibility for 6, if 2 and 3 are both divisible, are both factors of a number, then 6 is a factor of that number. So you can see, if I would have stopped at 2 just by saying that, oh, these are both even, I'll just use 2, you're not finding the greatest common factor. And that's what you need to do on these. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Let's look at 8. 8 times 8 is 64, so that would work. So I keep moving up my list. What about 12? Is 12 a factor of 64? Well, I can check. I'm going to use my calculator for this one. 64 divided by 12. If I get an even number over here, it is a factor. And I do not. So 12 is not. And if you're unsure about 24, you can simply do 64 divided by 24, and that is not. So the greatest common factor is 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 8 outside my parentheses, bring down my plus sign. Might as well bring down my k value as well so I don't forget that, because that's a common mistake kids make when they're first doing this. And now I just ask myself, 8 times what gives me 24? 3. 8 times what gives me negative 64? That's going to be negative 8. So this is a correct answer for factoring this expression. We'll do one more here, and I'm going to choose to do number 3b. 3b again, you can see as negative 15 minus 9z. So I'm going to change that to plus a negative 9z. And I'm starting with the factors of the number that is the least. And this is an easy one because 9 only has 3 factors, 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. When I have a number multiplied by itself, to get a product, I only list that number once. So I can see right away my greatest common factor is 3. So I'm going to put 3 outside of the parentheses. I'm going to put my plus sign inside the parentheses. And then I'm going to ask myself, 3 times what gives me negative 15? That would be negative 5. 3 times what gives me negative 9? That would be negative 3. Oops, and I forgot to bring my z down earlier. So to check myself, 3 times negative 15, or 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 3 times negative 3z is negative 9z. So you can do the rest on your own. Don't be afraid of 77 and 121. I'll go ahead and do that one for you, or with you. 1 times 77 is 77. 2 doesn't work because it's an odd number. 3 doesn't work because when I add them together, I get 14, and 14 is not a factor of, or 3 is not a factor of 14. 4, I can go ahead and check that with my calculator. 77 divided by 4, nope. 5, no, because it does not end in a 5 or a 0. 6, no, because 2 and 3 are not factors. 7. 7 and 11. 8, no, because 8 times 9 is 72, and I'm not going to have another group of 8. 9, no, 9 times 8 is 72. 10, no, because it doesn't end in a 0, and I've already got 11. So when I bump up against One I've already listed. I'm done. So now you can check these with 121 and see which one is the greatest common factor. It's going to be one of these three. And I think you can see right away, this one's too big, so it's either 7 or 11.